Array was a project about exploring chord, the potential of thread and what you could do with it. And it was also looking at tension and how you could use tension to create spatial volumes with light. It's very flexible. I mean, my background is architecture, so I've thought about that quite a lot in terms of how it was designed. And because they're very translucent volumes, they can be layered up within a space. So I think that's very interesting. Or within smaller spaces, you can use individual ones, and there are multiple sizes depending on the size of the space. But the key sort of interesting quality is the translucency. So even though the volumes are quite large, they don't feel like they overpower the space. What's interesting about the array is that because it uses lots of vertical lines working with chord, the overlapping of the lines creates the moire pattern, which is like a visual interference pattern. So it looks like the light is moving. It looks like it's sort of dynamic or kinetic. So primarily, I think people interact just through sort of how you view the object and how you walk around it. But also, it's a familiar material, it's a textile, and the invitation is to sort of touch, so it's got a certain warmth around it, so it can be touched as well. Threads are key, so it's a very humble material, but it's been developed in a very sort of technical, bespoke way. And just the regularity and spacing of the threads gives it the lightness and the transparency. It also creates the moire pattern. And on the other hand, the counterbalance to that is the metal, which acts as a counterweight. And I think sort of the visual language of the two is quite different and complementary. I started working with tension because I became really interested in how chord starts at something very small and minimal, a very compact material, but then when it's extended, it's like a line drawn in space. And when you apply that across sort of a volumetric product, it means that it can start from something almost completely flat to create something sort of very, very spatial. So I was really interested in creating volume with tension because I think for a number of reasons, firstly is that you can create quite a large volume that then goes down to something quite flat, so it's sort of very efficient and sustainable, and also for shipping. But also because of the tension, you have this sort of translucency, and there's a slight bit of sort of mystery about it in terms of how it works, which I think is really interesting. The collaboration was very, very organic, but very collaborative in the true sense of the word, because it's a way of working with it which hasn't been done before. It's like completely new, so new ways of working had to be created. And that was really thanks to the amazing technical team at Vibia. And then there was a parallel sort of investigation of sort of what's the typology, what's possible, which volumes make sense within a space. And in a sense, that was sort of my architectural background, which I used to sort of explore what I thought would work and how the forms could be layered, and how we could sort of end up with a refined collection. Well, I really just hope that it's a sort of a pleasurable object to have around, that you sort of see it. There's some sort of, there's something slightly unexpected about it. I think it's very familiar in the sense that the forms are familiar, they're cylinders and cones, but at the same time, I think there's something slightly unfamiliar about it, something sort of emotional. It's textile, but it's not textile. How does it work? And I think that sort of slight sort of mystery to it, I hope, gives people a bit of pleasure within their space. And I think we could all do with an extra sort of bit of pleasure in our spaces, I think.